Well, hello there. Good morning. And welcome to this. It's Wednesday, December 4th, 2019, which means there are 3 weeks. Is that right? 21 plus 4 equals 25. Is that right? I think so. 3 weeks till Christmas from today. That's got me in a bit of a tizzy there now, in a bit of a quandary. Because I thought that we'd have a radio show on December 23rd. We will do. We will, because December 23rd will be Monday. We will, yeah, I was right. There you are. Are you well? Are you keeping well? Thanks for joining me, by the way. Thank you very much for joining me. Chat away amongst yourselves there on the chat. I had a good fiddle with the sound control on this thing this morning, because there was a bit of distortion yesterday, wasn't there? But I think it should be distortion-free today. It's freezing again in Salford in Greater Manchester. I was shaking more violently this morning than a couple of jelly donuts on the table at a Weight Watchers meeting. That stone rattling away in my shoe was my toe. Yeah, it's cold this morning, really cold, and but it's glorious again, very, very bright and nice. And the thing about it being cold and dry is you don't have to clean your dog when you get back from mucky parks, because there is no muck. So I'll have a look at some of your comments in a few minutes time. Make the comments on here if you want them to appear. Try not to swear. I know the hypocrisy, I know, but if you do, they'll be hidden, right? And if you want me to read them out, make them salient, make them relevant to what it is I'm talking about, because I'm important really here ultimately. Right, I don't know whether we should just jump straight into the newspapers. What do you think, eh? Let's do it. Let's do it, be Jesus. It's the Telegraph today we're going to kick off with. I better put my bins on. There you are. And we'll go to Telegraph. Right wing newspaper, Conservative supporting, circulation 265,000. I just made that last bit up. I don't know how many papers it sells. We have no interest in the National Health Service, says Donald Trump. Yeah. If Bully was present at the NATO meeting, that's Bully from Bullseye, Bully would have went, he's lying. More documents emerging. He's lying. When he says we, who is he talking about? Is he talking about himself and his pals? Or is he talking about the puppet masters that control him? Because pharmaceutical corporations in America are looking at the NHS the way a morbidly obese woman or man looks at a jelly donut. Twice. That's twice. I'm recycling the terrible gags this morning. That's the Telegraph there. The Express. Trump, I wouldn't want NHS on silver platter. That's the Daily Express. Now, you might see there on the top left-hand side of the Daily Express the picture of Andrew and Virginia Roberts Giuffre. I saw Andrew in club with his accuser. That's a story that some of the papers are carrying today. There might be a new witness. We might come back to that in a few minutes' time. The Guardian newspaper. Where's The Guardian? The Guardian. Corbyn ups pressure over NHS as Trump rows back. What's interesting about this is at this NATO meeting, at this reception last night, this reception they had, the Queen was there and Princess Anne, no Prince Andrew, who I believe ordinarily would be the guy served up to host these types of functions because, of course, of his military background. But Andrew is in the cold now. But Princess Anne, they were all there. Corbyn was there, and Corbyn had been telling anybody who would listen that he would corner Donald Trump as they were quaffing the canapes and supping the best Prosecco the palace had to offer. Corbyn was going to say to Trump, you won't be getting your hands on our NHS, but apparently Corbyn didn't get anywhere near him yesterday. Jeremy Corbyn, yeah. All right. That's in The Guardian. Didn't get anywhere near him to say anything to him. Old cat weasel. Corbyn casts doubt on Trump's NHS pledge is the iPaper today. Lovely. Okay. Corbyn there looking off into the distance. The election, of course, is a week tomorrow. Did your polling card arrive in the post yet? Did you rip it up? Or are you planning to pop off to your local, or pop on down to your local primary school, which is where they usually conduct the ballots? Conduct the ballots. It's where you go to vote ordinarily, to exercise your franchise. You going to vote, you are, tomorrow week? You are, you liar. I know you are. Don't lie to me. Oh, we're with you, Richie. We know it's a load of bollocks, you lying bastards. All of you! Get the fuck off of my live stream! You're all going to vote, aren't you? Every one of you. Listen, none of my business what you do. I must remember that. That was the eye paper. Get the fuck off of my live stream with your jelly donuts. Trump thumps chump over NHS lies. Key Corbyn claim criticised. That's according to The Sun. Maureen McAleer there. I love your comment, Maureen, on the chat. Well done. Charlotte Binns is saying the same thing. Trump apparently said, well, we know he said, that he didn't know Prince Andrew, even though not only has he been in his company several times, but those meetings were documented by photographers who happened to be nearby. Well, Donald Trump is lying. Are you surprised by that? This is a man who admitted to fantasizing about having sex with his own daughter. This is a guy whom we know multiple claims have been made against him by witnesses, by women. Beauty pageants. He's a dirty, rotten bastard, Donald Trump. Was an intimate acquaintance of Jeffrey Epstein. Or Epstein. Was an intimate acquaintance of the Clintons. Trump is filthy. Of course he is. Of course he's going to lie about knowing Andrew. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump didn't bump into Andrew during one of Trump's visits to Jeffrey Epstein. But what do I know? That's speculation. I can only say that's speculation. Here's the Times. We'll force tech giants to pay more tax, says Boris Johnson. This is one of those deliciously despicable, disgusting, alliteration today, lies that politicians say, tell, promises made before an election. Vote for us, we'll take more money from Google and from Twitter and from Facebook. Well, of course, that's the last thing in the world he would do if he was to be returned to Downing Street, Boris Johnson. He's a lying sack of, well, you know the rest. Financial Times then. Johnson defies Trump threats with pledge on digital sales tax. Yeah, it's bullshit. It's electioneering. Don't believe it for a moment. The Mail today. Deadly gamble on our health. NHS boss slams gaming giants after millions more turn to betting online. Some newspapers today actually claim that in the last couple of years or the last year, more than half of us have had a punt, have had a gamble in this country. Is that right? Is it that bad? I mean, the advertisements for gaming companies, gambling giants like Ladbrokes and Bet365 and Paddy Power, they're everywhere. They are everywhere. And gambling online by children is definitely a big problem. There's no doubt about that. But could it be true that half of us now are gambling, succumbing to that? I hope it's not true that. You know, they've not surveyed the entire population. Obviously, they've surveyed a cross-section, and that survey leads them to believe that there is a huge problem with gambling. Jesus. Yeah. Bit of machinery in the background there. There's always some fucker doing something outside a house, isn't there? Doesn't matter where you fucking live or where you are. There's always some fucking arsehole tinkering with a house. And you know the reason for that? That's because there's no such thing as council houses anymore. All the houses in the country now are under private ownership. Or they are occupied by people mortgaged up to the fucking tits, right? Or else they're owned by developers or people who have bought a second house to rent out. So those fuckers are never doing anything else but running fucking drills and saws 24 fucking 7. It's driving me mad. Fuckers. I'm very good though at annoying them. I'm very good at stopping them at the appropriate times. Every now and then one of these dickheads will start a drill at 3 o'clock or a big saw at 3 o'clock of a Saturday afternoon, and I'll walk around to him and say, what the fuck are you doing? Oh, I'm contracted here. No, you're not. Fuck off. Don't come back till Monday morning. They always do. I talked about this about 2 years ago on the radio show. I had a load of trouble in Fallowfield with buy-to-let dickheads constantly fucking drilling and banging on Saturday afternoons and Sundays, even though the law explicitly prohibits them from doing that. I took great pleasure in telling them, you're going to stop that fucking drilling now, or I'm going to see how far I can insert that drill into your anal fucking cavity. Do we understand each other? Imran. Where we were living previously, it was a load of Asian guys constantly fucking banging and drilling. Anyway, what's that got to do with the papers? Nothing. The Mirror. Here's the Mirror. Am I sounding alright this morning? I am. Not so much distortion. Labour to put £6,716 in your pocket. Wow. Pledge to tackle fat cats and blah blah blah. Yeah, you get it all. If we come in, slash energy, water, rail and childcare costs, the cumulative effect of slashing costs by renationalising things will result in you being 6,700 and change off a year, says the Mirror. Take it with a large pinch of salt there. Good morning, by the way. Good morning. What's on the front page of the Metro? Hero, it was just instinct. Is that Lucas? Is that Lucas there? I can't see. Is it Lucas? Shit. Hang on. Balls. I left my tablet downstairs. I can't read that. Is that Lucas? Did somebody get an interview with Lucas? Good man. The Ballad of Lucas. Well, Lucas left home about 3:30, didn't even stop to have a pee, took the number 37 to London Bridge. Lucas is the man who led the charge against Osman Khan on Friday last in London, we're told. We're led to believe. There's the Metro. The Star then. McNuggets. UK's largest lump of gold has been found in them there hills in Scotland in a river. Nice big chunk of gold there, a couple of ounces apparently, worth about 80 grand apparently, allegedly. The ownership of it is disputed, and the media is refusing to announce the name of the river. So I'm told. Kay Burley is off today. They've got somebody sitting in for her. Somebody called Sarah Hewson. She talked about it and said they won't say where the river is because we'd all go gallivanting up there, wouldn't we? Yeehaw! The gold rush, the Scottish gold rush of 2019. Hi to Steve. My blood pressure is fine, Steve. I had my blood pressure taken recently. It's very good. When you run 6 kilometres at least 6 days a week, as I do, I'm going to go out there and fucking nail that fucking. Anyway, at this particular time of the day, they are allowed to sow. So I've got to keep my counsel. I've got to keep quiet about it. They're allowed to sow. Fucking noise. Noise pollution is a serious thing. You know, if you leave my piss taking and my faux anger to one side, noise pollution is a very serious thing. We never talk about it. Okay. Yes. I see Graham Booze is on there. How you doing, Graham, from triggerwarning.tv? Hi to David Peckinpah. Very good. I just got an ad on a loan to pay off credit card debt, which I used originally to get student loans. So now a loan to pay off a loan on a loan. I just decided, says David, that I am debt free. Yes, David. Yeah. I've talked too much in the past about student loans and banking in general to even touch that, so I will leave that alone. Ghost Gaming says, that's probably how much in bedroom tax I've paid, £6,000, he says. Shane says, America has not been America for decades. It is nothing more than the military muscle of the Zionist elite who will use it and destroy it from within. Thank you, Shane. He was replying to Teresa there. Graham says, Labour got rid of more council houses than even the wettest of Thatcher's dreams. Yes, Labour did. Labour, of course, did. The right to buy your council house was a Thatcher policy. It was a Thatcherite, was Thatcherism. But of course, Tony Blair was Margaret Thatcher on steroids. He took Margaret Thatcher's policies and said, I'll see your insanity. I will see your decimation of everything that is good and everything that is important, and I will raise it. That's what Tony Blair did. That's what Blair did. Thatcher on steroids, of course. That is a fact, Jack. Good stuff. Bruce Blunt says the NHS is purposely being destroyed from the centre out. I know a lot of people who work there, and they wouldn't have agreed before, but they agree now, says Bruce. Thank you, Bruce. A lot of you agreeing and disagreeing with my characterization of Donald Trump. No bad thing. No bad thing. And a number of you talking about Trump's denial of any real knowledge of Prince Andrew, who was nowhere to be seen yesterday. Very good. Right, let's look inside the papers then. It's coming up to 10 minutes to 10. It's about 11 and a half minutes to 10, Wednesday morning. Radio show, of course, live as usual at 5 o'clock today. I'll have guests for you, and we'll have an interesting news roundup as well. What have we got? What have we got? Speaking of Osman Khan. Here's a bizarre story in the Daily Mail today. He's the man that was shot dead on London Bridge on Friday. This is very bizarre. London Bridge terrorist Osman Khan had £1,000 weight loss injections just days before his barbaric attack, and he was known as Beyonce Boy in Belmarsh Prison. Jesus. And as we learn more and more about what happened on Friday, the more we learn, the more strange and bizarre and unusual it is. This guy would have known before Friday, allegedly he would have known, that he planned to turn up to the Learning Together event and stab some people to death and get himself killed by wearing a fake suicide belt. But in the days leading up to it, he was spending thousands of pounds on weight loss injections. Was he getting himself ready for the virgins who would welcome him in paradise on Friday? Unlikely. It's again just another strange little nugget of information that came into the public domain last night. Why was he doing that if he knew that his time on this earth was very short? You see, these are the questions. And what we try to do, those of us who, respect the medium of radio and television and who respect journalism, is we try not to draw any definitive conclusions, because you can't. I don't know what that means, but I know it is something that the national press should be questioning, but they're not. Well, what are you saying, Richie? All that the Daily Mail is doing is reporting on it. There's no follow-up. You know, this guy, if he had that sort of money, and how did he get that sort of money? Surely he would have been given that money to his family, you know, before he decided to enact the attack that would surely result in either him being returned to prison or in him being shot down, killed. Right? Right. Strange stuff. Getting a £1,000 injection, so he was. To help with his weight loss. Christ almighty. I didn't even know injections existed or that sort of treatment existed to help you lose weight. Amazing, really. Amazing. Let's just briefly talk about Andrew and Epstein. According to the Telegraph today, close associates of the Duke of York and Fergie, the Duchess, she's still the Duchess, is she, have been slamming the BBC for what they see as bias in how they presented the Panorama show on Monday. They're saying that because there was so much footage of Virginia Roberts Giuffre crying that it was biased, it was a slanted programme. That's what they're saying. Some of Andrew's friends and confidants. But number of surveys have been done of people who watched the Panorama programme, and the overwhelming majority of people who watched it take the opinion or have expressed an opinion that they found Virginia to be fairly credible. She didn't appear to be lying, whereas on the flip side of that, it was obvious to even, you know, the most green observer of body language and of people's behaviour, even the most green, you know, Andrew was lying through his teeth on Newsnight a couple of weeks ago. So Andrew's friends are saying, oh, we think the BBC is biased. Well, the BBC is biased. Of course it is. In so many ways. Was it biased in how it treated the Panorama production? I don't know. Maybe as Miss Giuffre was recollecting these things, maybe when she does, it's common for her to be emotional, maybe. Maybe that's the answer. What else have we got? Well, the Daily Mail is, I suppose, of all the UK newspapers, not just the tabloids, of all the UK newspapers to cover the allegations against Prince Andrew, the Daily Mail is the most diligent in its kind of seemingly inexhaustible coverage of it. It just won't let it go. And today, the Mail has focused on Ghislaine Maxwell and her whereabouts, which we've been talking about off and on the radio show. Where is Prince Andrew's wanted woman? Of course, he was engaged in conversations with her even this year, wasn't he? When Epstein went to prison, when he was remanded in custody, Andrew met this woman, I would argue, to try and find out what was going to be said, what was happening. But she's on the missing list now. Nobody knows where she is. Is she in Russia? Asks the Mail. Is she in Israel? Asks the Mail. Oi, oi. That's very interesting, isn't it? Is she? Or is she even hiding here in Britain? Asks the Daily Mail. Yeah, it's a good article. And I suppose any amateur snapper now, you know, anybody armed with the most obsolete camera phone, if you could get a nice picture of Ghislaine Maxwell anywhere, you're looking at six figures now from a national newspaper. That's a nice little Christmas present. So I say to the Richie Allen Show listeners, the millions of you around the world, keep your cameras handy, because you never know, you know. If you come across Ghislaine and you get a nice picture of her, every tabloid in the world will buy it, you know. So we had the ballad of Lucas, didn't we? In the style of A Boy Named Sue, Johnny Cash. This is going to be a recurring theme on the live stream anyway, on the this ridiculous nonsense that we do, the live stream. So we've got one for Ghislaine. What have we got? We've got Smokey, and we've got, what's the key? Is it a key of C? Is it a D? Is it a key? Well, I don't know where she's living, but I really want to know. We just want to ask her questions. She didn't have to go. For 6 months now, we've been searching the world for Ghislaine. Ghislaine! Where the fuck is Ghislaine? So keep your camera phones handy, and if you find out where Ghislaine is, get a picture of her, 6 figures. And the least you could do is give me 10% for coming up with the idea, right? That's me. Okay. Right. Let's move on. What else have we got? We have an abomination. That's what we have. We have an abomination is what we have. Excuse me. British lesbian couple become the first parents to have a baby carried in both of their wombs. The conservative Christians are losing their fucking minds this morning. How did they manage this? Well, you can see how they managed it. The egg was first incubated by one of the women, and then the egg was transplanted to the other woman. And if the conservative Christians aren't losing their shit because lessie moms both incubated the egg, it's a mixed race relationship. They must be properly fucking suiciding themselves, the conservative right. It's an abomination. That's what it is. I don't know what it is, you know. A part of me just doesn't give a fuck really anymore. Born to 2 moms, raised by 2 moms, a lesbian couple, mixed race, the kid's going to be a serial killer. Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, Jesus is just not happy, I wouldn't imagine. I genuinely don't care. I genuinely don't. Well, you do, you bigoted gammon. Well, it's always been the case. This is not the BBC, this is the BBG. Not the BBC, it's the BBG, the big baldy gammon. I don't know. I know you'll have strong opinions on this stuff. The Moog says, the Moog, carefully hiding behind the Moog. Tell us your real name, why don't you? The Moog says, you don't have to be a conservative Christian to think this is fucked up. That's true. I'll give you that. I take the point of view that I don't think it's ideal, but it's none of me business. That's, you know, and you're going to have to come on the next live show. The next live show. You're going to have to come on the next phone-in show and tell me why you think it should be my business or your business. That's the question, you see, that nobody wants to answer. Are you trying to save humanity from itself? I asked a guy once who found this stuff to be abominable and said he wasn't a Christian. I said, why do you want to stop it so badly then? And he couldn't answer me. Now, you know I'm no virtue signaller. I've just told you I don't think this is ideal. I don't like it. You know, I'm not in favour of same-sex adoption. I've said this a million times in the last 15 years on radio. And there was a time when gay and lesbian women would debate me on it. And in an adult way, we would just have a conversation. There were no accusations of hate speech or bigotry. We would just have a conversation because these were gay men and women I was friendly with. Some of them agreed with me and said, yeah, it's not ideal really. You know, you're better to have a mom and a dad, the paternal, the maternal, you know, for childhood development and all that. We used to talk about these things. You can't talk about it now without accusations of you being some hateful figure, some Nazi type. I'm not. Like I said, it's not my business. These women got a surrogate father. They got impregnated and shared the egg carrying duties, is it any of my fucking business? Ultimately, no, really, it isn't. But do I like it? No, I don't like it. I'd prefer we didn't. Fuck it. I'm just going to leave it. I'm not worried about digging a hole for myself. It's just, what else can I say? I don't like the idea. Squirrels, grey squirrels are fucking trees up in the UK apparently. Now there are millions of them. Despite the best efforts of my dog Jazz, who's never caught a squirrel in her life. Does your dog do that? Does your dog behave like a total fucking idiot? The squirrel is halfway up a massive tree and your dog stands at the bottom of the tree looking up and whimpering at the squirrel. Crying. Like the squirrel is going to come down, yeah. Fucking retard of a dog I have. Anyway, grey squirrels are, well, they've driven red squirrels out of the country, haven't they, more or less. We should eat squirrels to keep population numbers down and to stop them from killing trees. Squirrels are classed as vermin. You probably didn't know that. I know everything. It's my job to educate you. I only know this because this came up last year and some conservationists said, this is how I know, that squirrels are vermin, therefore you can trap them if you want. Trap them and kill them, fucking eat them. I imagine they would have a very gamey taste. So, yeah. It won't be long before Jacob Rees-Mogg or some toxic fucking Tory starts criticising people who use food banks and lamenting the fact that, you know, why am I hearing about people using food banks? This is ridiculous. All they need to do is go to their local park and catch a few squirrels. All they need to do is trap a few squirrels, make a hearty and wholesome and very nutritious dish. Kill a few squirrels. Yeah. There are millions of them. My vegan viewers and listeners are losing their collective shit now. Yep. What else have we got? Where the fuck is Ghislaine? So the Telegraph then. Russia won't deny hackers leaked Corbyn's NHS documents. This is funny. They won't leave this alone. The right-wing press. Corbyn got him on fucking Reddit. He couldn't give a shit, Corbyn. Who leaked them to Reddit? Doesn't matter. Like I said last night, whether it was fucking Rosemary West who leaked the documents. Trying to think of somebody more awful than Rosemary West. Still alive in the UK. Tony Blair. Tony Blair, yeah. Tony Blair. I'd rather have dinner with Rosemary fucking West than Tony Blair. Doesn't matter who leaked them. The documents are genuine. The NHS would be on the table in any future trade agreement with between even the UK and the US. It's a fact. It's a fact, Jack. It is a fact, Jack. We talked about the new Andrew witness in the Times. Her identity is being, for understandable reasons, for obvious reasons, being kept secret. But there is a woman who is a very credible witness, at least according to the lawyer for Epstein's victims. A credible witness has emerged who was at Tramp nightclub and who did see Andrew sweating all over Virginia Roberts' Giuffre. So there's a witness. That's in the Times. We mentioned this earlier on. And what else is there? A couple of quick stories before I take my leave of you. Heart experts demand checks for cholesterol from age 25. This is how big pharmaceutical companies operate, and it is a joy to behold. Big pharmaceutical companies lobby the bejesus, not only out of politicians, but they also lobby doctors, and they also lobby academics at universities. They give them lots of money. Grants for research and stuff like that. They give lots of money to politicians. So this is a big pharma idea. We need to sell more statins. How do we do that? Well, we insist that the NHS adopts a new policy of checking people when they are 25 for elevated cholesterol levels. And we'll fucking fiddle the data. We'll fuck around the data. We'll set the parameters. to such a degree that lots and lots of people will not have such a good test and will be told, well, your cholesterol, it's okay, but it's just slightly close to that threshold, so we think it wouldn't be any harm if you had a few weeks worth of statins. That's how it goes, right? Most people haven't a clue the sort of fucking world they live in. They have no idea. What else is there? The Turner Prize, the big art prize. The 4 nominees for this year's Turner Prize, prepared to get sick. They would rather share it. Please, please, please share the award between the 4 of us, because we want to use the sharing of the award to demonstrate to our politicians. They want to demonstrate in the midst of a political crisis how people can come together. They talk about multiplicity and all of that bollocks. Artists, eh? Pretentious? Moi? Arseholes, more like it. What else have we got? Some schools are sending teachers around to kick children out of fast food outlets, according to the Star. And this guy who runs a fast food outlet, Neil D'Souza, he's properly pissed off. He runs Chili Bellies. And he's gone to the police about it because his profits are down. This was a big year, 2019, for talk about child health. Not just child mental health, but also child physical health. It was in the news every other day, every other week. Childhood obesity on the rise. One of the things they reckon is going on is that kids are going to get some of these lunchtime specials at Chippies, fast food places. And some schools are sending teachers around there to tell the kids to get out of there or risk detention. This is true, strangely enough. There it is. There are a number of issues there, of course. Parents might be concerned about the fact that their children on a break from school are being threatened by teachers to get out of fast food places. If you don't, we'll give you detention. Very interesting, that. And listen, I'm not saying that fast food places are necessarily the best places for children to be. They're probably not. But all very strange. This guy called in the police. He said, they're driving away my trade. Have you ever heard anything like that? All very strange, yeah. All very strange. Let's remove that. And I just want to share with you a little bit of something that was on Sky News today, and then we'll close out the programme for today. Victoria Falls, Zambia, Zimbabwe. It's been claimed by Sky News. Sky News has taken upon itself the responsibility to educate the UK about the urgency of climate change. The Sky News, you see, is crusading. It's propagandising. It isn't any longer, well, it never was really, a journalistic exercise, a journalistic operation. Sky is now basically running infomercials all the time for climate change. And it is terrible. I'm going to play you 60 seconds of one such infomercial. You'll see Sky News reporter Alex Crawford taking a microlight over Victoria Falls, crying about the fact that there isn't as much water cascading over the falls as usual because of climate change.
The Victoria Falls, the biggest curtain of falling water in the world, but not right now, and maybe no longer. The waterfall which divides Zambia and Zimbabwe has fallen to its lowest level in about 25 years. It often dries up in sections on the Zambian side, but this is much worse than normal. It's a fraction, and the huge walls of rock should be covered with cascading water. We took to the air in a microlight to better see the dramatic change, exacerbated by a long drought and a delayed rainy season. There's no doubt it's still one of the most spectacular visual feasts you'll ever see, but it seems to be disappearing.
This is a site which has delighted people for centuries, and now look at it. The impact is dramatically stark from this angle. The world's largest falls now down to a trickle in places. If we're not careful, we're going to lose this site entirely.
Right, we're going to leave it there, right? It goes on for about 4 minutes. We'll leave it there. It goes on for about 4 minutes. Now, I'm not going to be irresponsible. Even though I know that man-made CO2, I know this. CO2, the emissions from our presence on planet Earth have got nothing to do with the decrease in the flow over Victoria Falls. How do you know that, Richie? Forget about that for a second. Surely Sky News has a responsibility. And if you've been watching Sky, please go to Sky News on YouTube and watch all of that report. Because I don't want you to think that I'm telling you fibs. That report doesn't mention some very, very important facts about drought in southern Africa, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zambia. Those countries in that area, right? Historical drought in those areas. This is why it's propaganda by Sky, and it's dreadful. And nobody's calling it out. And I don't expect that Ofcom is going to be getting too many letters or emails from people complaining about Sky's refusal to omit some very important facts about what's happening at Victoria Falls, but more importantly, what's been happening in Zambia. Do a Google search on African drought and southern African drought, and you'll find that 1995, 2005, 2007, 2015, 1986, back in the 1970s, this particular part of Africa has been plagued by drought, and water levels in the Zambezi decreasing. Those years that I just mentioned, if you do read some of these documents, those years of intense drought were interspersed with years of very wet rainy seasons and high river levels and shitloads of water cascading over Victoria Falls. And what's very interesting is, if you look at southern African drought on Wikipedia, so there's Wikipedia's page for 2018-2019 Southern African drought. You'll get loads and loads of links to studies that talk about how agricultural practice and economic development and the part played by agricultural practice and economic development in Southern African drought. It's not climate change. It's not CO2 in the atmosphere that has led to the current drought experienced in southern Africa. It is a cyclical problem that has been going on in that region since Moses was a boy. And it is disgusting in the extreme for Sky News to be making lavishly produced, pathos-filled productions about the devastation of one of the world's, it is one of the wonders of the world, isn't it? The Victoria Falls. It is. I think it is one of the 7 wonders of the world. I think it is. I think she might have said that in the, I couldn't hear it, she might have said that. To suggest that it's because of climate change, when not only is it not, but academics over the last 25 to 30 years have basically, if you read through those papers, any cursory search on Google, academics have not linked it, won't link it to climate change because it's got nothing to do with climate change or CO2 emissions in the atmosphere. It's pretty shabby, isn't it? But that's where we are with this particular agenda in the week of the COP25 meeting in Madrid. Lots and lots of propaganda, very few facts. But worse than that, it's worse to go to air with very few facts. What's even worse than that is to go to air and to just omit, just leave to one side those facts which are inconvenient to your narrative. Dreadful stuff. It's 10:15. Hayden's doctor, that's Hayden Hewitt from Trigger Warning. How you doing, Hayden? Triggerwarning.tv. Hayden's doctor wants him to fix things, his own health, with his diet rather than statins. Good stuff. Hayden is well aware, of course, that there are many studies, and again, the Daily Mail was very good on this a few years ago, that show that statins are in fact completely useless when it comes to lowering cholesterol, number one. Number two, cholesterol is not a bad thing. And number three, statins can lead to other health problems as well. Yeah. But they want 25-year-olds now to get cholesterol tests. Sure, why not? That's it for this nonsense. We'll chat again at 5 o'clock on the radio show, where I think it'll be an interesting show today. I've got to go and get my teeth into it now after I have a nice run in the sunshine. Until 5 o'clock, do check out triggerwarning.tv, YouTube, Trigger Warning channel, Hayden and Graham, for lots and lots of content and very good and sometimes very funny analysis of the big stories of the day. I'll see you at 5 then. Bye.